Good evening, and thank you for attending. My name is Deborah Exner, and I will be the moderator for tonight's debate. This Clean Elections Commission is the sponsor for this evening's event. The Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance reform measure initiated by Arizona citizens and passed by voters in 1998. Participation as a clean elections candidate is strictly voluntary. The system provides full funding for qualified candidates who agree to abide by the Clean Elections Act and rules. To qualify for funding, participating candidates must illustrate the support of their constituents by gathering $5 qualifying contributions from registered voters in their legislative district. The candidates agree to adhere to contribution and spending limits and may not accept money from special interest groups. They also agree to participate in these debates. As we move into the debate, we encourage audience questions. If you have questions, please print them clearly on the card you received as you came in, and then hold it up. One of our volunteers will pick up the questions, the cards, and bring them to me. We screen questions for clarity and to eliminate duplications, speeches, or personal attacks on candidates. If you need another card, just raise your hand. The debate is scheduled for 1 hour, so we may not get to all of the questions, but we will do our best. There is an independent timer who will see that all the candidates have equal time to answer questions and will let them know when their time is up. The format for this evening will be opening statements for 2 minutes, a quick lightning round, 2 minutes to answer audience questions, 2 minutes to answer candidate-to-candidate questions, and closing statements for 2 minutes. We ask that you remain polite to all of the candidates and give them a fair and uninterrupted hearing, no matter how strongly you may agree or disagree with what's being said. That means no applause, outbursts, or cheers, except when we introduce the candidates. This is especially important as closed captioning services will be made available after this debate for individuals who are hearing impaired. As such, I will refer to each candidate by their full name prior to each question and ask that candidates speak clearly into their microphone. This evening's debate, we have Ms. Lynn Pancrazi, Democrat, running for State Senate. Dr. Connie Uribe, Republican, running for State Senate. Ms. Charlene Fernandez, Democrat, running for State Representative. Mr. Richard Hopkins, Republican, running for State Representative. And Ms. Lisa Otondo, Democrat, running for State Representative. The order in which the candidates will speak will be determined by alphabetical order by last name, starting with the Senate, and will progress from that starting point. The closing order will be determined by reverse alphabetical order. So Ms. Lynn Pancrazi, will you start with your opening remarks, please?
Very rarely am I first with the last name with a P, but with Uribe as a U, I get in there this time. Good evening, I'm Lynn Pancrazi. I'm a second-generation Arizona. I am married to Mike Pancrazi. We've been married for 37 years. We are both retired school teachers. He from Yuma Union High School District and me from Yuma School District number 1. I'm also a licensed realtor whose license is inactive while I serve in the legislature. I have a daughter, Angela, and a son-in-law, Moses Moreno, and 2 grandkids, Madison and Michael Moses. And of course, I have lots and lots of sisters and sisters-in-laws and brothers-in-laws and cousins and nephews and nieces and great-nieces and great-nephews, most of them right here in Yuma, some of them other places, but for the most part right here in Yuma. I have an absolutely wonderful family. I served 6 years in the House of Representatives from District 24, which was Yuma and La Paz County. And then with redistricting, I have served 2 years in the State Senate. the newly created District 4, which picks up half of Yuma, Ajo, Gila Bend, half of Buckeye, half of Goodyear, the Tohoto Nation, and half of the Midville Park area in Tucson. I am currently the assistant Democratic leader in the Senate, and I thank you all for allowing me to serve, first as your representative and now as your senator. Thank you for your continued support, and I never forget that I work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Connie Uribe.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming. My history actually starts back in 1702 when my family came here by boat, or they swam. I don't know, maybe they were sentenced here. They did that a lot in those days. But my family actually fought to help create this nation. On my mother's side, on my dad's side, that part of the family came up from Mexico, and they actually did so legally, which is something that's kind of neat nowadays. I'm very proud of that. But my history here in Yuma goes back to my grandfather, who was disabled from the First World War, and he homesteaded land here near Yuma, and but he was so disabled that he actually succumbed to his injuries and wanted to go back to Missouri to die with his family. And my mom came back here to Yuma when I was 4 years old. I started out in Alice Byrne, graduated from Crane, graduated from COFA, went to AWC, got 2 degrees from the University of Arizona, but I came back to Yuma to set up practice. And the government had an idea that I was going to end that a little too soon, which we'll probably talk about at some point during this debate anyway. But Yuma is my home, and I now want to, I would like very much to serve you in the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Charlene Fernandez.
Good evening. Thank you, Clean Elections, for giving us the opportunity to meet with our voters and the ability to watch this online later on. And you'll be able to see where we stand and how different we are and how much alike we are. Again, I'm Charlene Fernandez. I was born and raised in LD4, what would become LD4 here in Yuma County, lifelong Arizona resident. I was one of those non-traditional students. I went to all public schools here in the Yuma area on the north end, but I went back to school later on after I had my children and I was married and had a mortgage and 2 car payments, but I went back to school because it was that important. I received a degree in public education, elementary education from NA Yuma, and I never taught a day because as soon as I graduated from college, I was hired by Congressman Pastor to run his congressional office here in Yuma County. I worked for 12 years for Congressman Pastor, 5 years for Governor Napolitano, and 2 years for Congressman Grijalva. But probably the most rewarding work I've done, and that's just been lately, is I've worked in the public sector. So I've learned a lot about what our local businesses have to go through, as well as knowing what our government does, the work that they do. I also served on a school board. I was the school board president and vice president for 8 years at Yuma Union High School District. I raised 3 children here in Yuma County, all attending public schools, and they've all graduated from the universities here in Arizona, and they're all taxpayers. And I thank you again for allowing me this time to talk to you.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Hopkins.
Thank you. I'm not a politician, so I sometimes ramble a little bit, so please bear with me. I too am a second-generation Arizonan. Would have been third, but in 1906, the wagon broke a wheel 2 miles into New Mexico, and it took my great-grandfather 2 weeks to earn the dollar to fix it. So my grandmother was born there, but moved to Safford when she was 2 weeks old. I got Connie beat because my lineage traces back to 1610, the Jamestown colony. And then my relative went back to England and came across on the Mayflower, and his daughter was the one that was born on the ship, and he was the main author of the Mayflower Compact. I serve on my school board, 8 years, the Buckeye Elementary School District Governing Board. First half of my adult career, I was in law enforcement, policeman, deputy sheriff, criminal justice, officer of the court. And then when all of those injuries added up that the Industrial Commission said I had, it came time to do something else. So for the last 14 and a half years, I've been an insurance agent. I decided to run because I feel that our legislature is broken. And unfortunately, the only way somebody has a seat at the table is to be a Republican, because everything is decided in the Republican caucus. And I would like to thank Lisa and Lynn, because they're the only two legislators that respond to every one of my requests over the years with the school district, and almost every time it's a telephone call to me. So I would like to take this time to thank them for what they've done.
Thank you. Ms. Lisa Otondo.
Thank you, Richard. That was very kind of you to mention that. Thank you to Clean Elections, and thank you to everyone who came out this evening. Take your time to listen to your candidates for LD4. Really important, and it's a really important election, so thank you to you all. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a second-generation Arizona. I come from a farming family. My family farmed in Buckeye and in Welton Mohawk. My father and mother were both in the military. Personally, for me, I've worked in many capacities. I've worked as an international affairs specialist for NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I've been a small business owner. I wrote training programs for American Airlines and worked with them as flight crew as well. I'm a former public school teacher. I taught in the Crane School District for 6 years. I've been a licensed real estate agent for the last 13 years. So I've had a wide variety of experiences, and truly one of the most pleasurable jobs that I've had has been serving Legislative District 4 and working in the House of Representatives. I am ranking member of the Technology and Infrastructure Committee, and I am a member of the Education Committee. Speaker of the House appointed me on the Interim Water Committee last summer and 3 committees this summer. I work year-round. I help my constituents fight bureaucratic minds and really enjoy also taking school children through the Capitol to teach them about the legislative process. I have a master's degree in international public administration, and I have a bachelor's degree in international policy studies, and it's been such a pleasure to represent Legislative District 4, the second largest district in the state of Arizona. Thank you so much.
Thank you. In an attempt to lighten the mood for tonight's debate, we are going to do a quick lightning round of this or that. This will allow us to get to know more about the candidates. So please answer with just one word. So to Ms. Lynn Pancrazi, Droid, iPhone, or Windows?
iPhone.
Okay. Ms. Connie Uribe, CNN, Fox News, or MSNBC?
Fox.
Okay. Ms. Charlene Fernandez, Facebook or Twitter?
Twitter.
Mr. Richard Hopkins, Mac or PC?
PC.
All right. And Ms. Lisa Otondo, Lumberjack, Sun Devil, or Wildcat?
Oh, wow. I graduated from California, Monterey Institute. NAU. Let's go with NAU. Lumberjacks.
Okay. All right.
Sheep herding family thing, you know.
And for our first audience debate question, we will be starting with Dr. Connie Uribe, please. How can we be assured that Common Core is not a detriment to Arizona's education system?
The only way we can be assured that Common Core will not bother our education system is to do away with it. Common Core is funded by the feds, and it is state mandated, and it is an intrusion in our system. Even the creators of Common Core, and you can go online and find a quote by William McCallum from the University of Arizona, where he admits that they had to lower the standards. They had to lower the already existing standards in order to create the new standards for Common Core. Bill Gates is seen in a video. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation helped to fund the original creation of Common Core, and in a video, Bill Gates is asked about his own children, who of course probably attend a private school, if his children are being exposed to Common Core, and he says, he hedges the answer, but essentially he says no, his kids are not being exposed to Common Core. He wants his kids to have what he calls a super Common Core. He wants his kids to be exposed to literature that is above and beyond Common Core. So the word common here is the operative word. Do you want your children to have a common education? No, we want our children to have something that is better. We want our children to excel. The K through 12 programs in the Arizona school system can only excel if we do away with the Common Core state standards.
Thank you. Ms. Charlene Fernandez, same question.
I was on the Yuma Union High School board when we were researching Common Core, and I fully support Common Core. I do not think it's a detriment to public education, but at this time, you know, I am not going to debate the issue of whether Common Core is a detriment or not, because I think the real issue right now is the funding of our public schools. And that's something that the Arizona legislature can do something about, and the taxpayers of Arizona. Common Core was adopted by school boards throughout the state. No Child Left Behind was adopted a few years before that and was also funded by the feds. So I don't think it's a detriment, but I would rather debate the issue of public education funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Hopkins.
Looking at the standards, there's probably nothing major wrong with the actual standards themselves, which is what a child needs to know by when they need to know it. Some of them are a little bit tougher, and then again, some of them are a little bit more lenient than what we call aims. The issue I have with Common Core is that it's a United Nations mandate, and all of the ancillary products that go along with it, like all of the data that they ask your children as part of the testing process. Why does a school need to ask the question, how many guns are in your house? Another thing I have a difficulty with is the cost of the testing. We have approximately 5,000 students in the school district. In order for all of them to take the test to ensure they have a passing, it will cost $450,000 out of our $23 million budget just to issue the Common Core test. $45 the first time and $15 for each portion that they have to retake. That's ludicrous. The actual standards are pretty good, but all of the ancillary things, I believe, is a detriment, and I would not support continuing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lisa Otondo.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out something. You know, in District 4, we have children that are coming from basically 3 different bases. Common Core, better known now as the College and Career Preparedness program, actually allows a national program that when a student moves from a state to a state, their standards are not changed on them. Our military children deserve that, because when they move from Arizona to another state, they will still be on track with the same level of expectations. Businesses, teachers, and universities brought together these standards. And it's just been so blown out of proportion and highly politicized. Now, I'm a supporter of Common Core. It is being implemented. And, you know, Arizona is really pushing to get it through, but we need to make sure that it's funded, as Charlene was mentioning earlier. We need to ensure that it's implemented properly, that class sizes are smaller, and the teachers are prepared to teach the standards. They are of high quality. I will tell you, I'm a teacher, language arts, 8th grade, and I've seen the old standards and the new standards, and they're tough. raise the bar higher, let our kids jump higher, and let's move education in Arizona forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lynn Pancrazi.
Well, first of all, unless we're adequately funding our public schools, it doesn't matter what standards we have, unless we have the funding to be able to hire the teachers we need, the quality teachers we need, and have the class sizes we need, regardless of whether or not we're using Common Core, career and college readiness, No Child Left Behind, whatever standards we decide to use, unless we fund our public schools adequately and we quit cutting the budgets of our public schools, it won't make any difference what standards we have. I am in support of Common Core, except that I've heard from some of my constituents about the math portion. And I was in a school in Goodyear, and I watched some of the math being taught, and I have some concerns with the math not spiraling, which means that you don't base one activity upon the next so that your skills aren't developed in a sequence of order. So I do have some concerns about the math, and I do have some concerns from a constituent about the AP history, not having enough American history in it. But I do support Common Core, career and college readiness. But unless we adequately fund our public schools, regardless of what program we go with, we're not going to have success, because we have classrooms that are overcrowded. We have teachers who are not getting the preparation to be able to teach the things that they're supposed to be able to teach, and they're not getting paid. So.
Thank you. The next question is, where immigration issues and the reliance on immigrant labor collide, what or where is the happy medium? What are your views or goals on tackling the immigration problem? And we'll start with Ms. Charlene Fernandez.
Well, it definitely has to be looked at, and it doesn't seem like anyone wants to act on it. It has to be comprehensive immigration reform, meaning that we have to look at all areas of it. As a resident of Yuma County, living on the border, we know that we do need the services and the work that our immigrants do. Yes, we have a large influx of illegal immigration, but that's talking about it comprehensively, that we do have to look into those issues. It is a federal issue. It would be nice if something could be done here at the Arizona State Legislature, but the bottom line, it's a federal issue. It's an international border, and that's all there is to it. We have to make sure that our congressmen know where we stand and that it needs to be looked at this session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Richard Hopkins.
My view is that 100% of all enforcement efforts at this time needs to be directed at securing the border. There does not need to be border patrolmen in Las Vegas chasing hotel workers, in Iowa chasing farm and ranch owners, Oklahoma. That was going to be my joke about keeping the Texans out, but all of the border patrolmen need to be securing the border, because it's like you're out fishing and your boat springs a leak. You can sit there and talk about what you're going to do. Sooner or later, your boat's going to sink. You need to plug the holes first, and then you decide what you need to do. It is a federal problem. It's just, in my view, it's a waste of breath and effort to try and do anything until the border is secured. And to me, that's my response.
Thank you. Ms. Lisa Otondo.
Interestingly enough, one of the committees that I've been appointed on this summer is border issues. We haven't had a meeting yet. Everybody is in the midst of their campaign, but it will be coming quickly, and I look forward to it. Of course, this is a federal issue. There's really nothing we can do, but what we need to do is pressure our congressmen to make sure that something is done on a federal level. Agriculture, which is so important to this community in Legislative District 4, we have to ensure that the proper visas are in line so that we can have workers in agriculture. Also, as a rural community, we need to also ensure that we have visas so we can get more doctors here and that those keep coming down the turnpike. Now, that's not necessarily a border issue, but Legislative District 4 has 3/4 of the border. Tohono O'odham Indian Reservation, the Tohono O'odham Nation, lies on our border. It is the size of Connecticut. They have family members that live on the other side of the fence. This isn't just about all of the border that's in for, it's also about access to their families, and this issue has to be looked at thoroughly from many angles. One of the issues, Lynn and I had the opportunity to go to the Tohono O'odham Nation to review a virtual fence. I have made no decisions on my opinion of that, but I will tell you that there are things that are being looked at and being looked at seriously. But we need the input of all of our constituents. We need the opinions of Tohono O'odham Nation and respect also their border. And we do need to ensure that we do not hinder commerce with Mexico. It's so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lynn Pancrazi.
Mexico is our biggest economic trader. Of all the people that all the countries we trade with, Mexico is the largest. What we need to do is increase the number of customs and border crossings and the people who work there to increase the amount of legal crossing that we have to begin with. Secondly, the Yuma sector has done a huge job, a great job of interoperability. The other part of our state and some of the other states that border the Mexico-Arizona border do not have this interoperability. Our interoperability with all of our public safety officers has made it almost impossible. Well, it's never totally impossible, but almost impossible for people to be able to cross without attracting either Border Patrol or sheriffs or the Kokopah tribe officers. So we have cut down hugely on the amount of illegal immigration coming through the Yuma sector. Now, that same interoperability isn't in the Tucson sector. Now, I know that the TO are working with the Border Patrol in getting stationary cameras, and they're also also in the process of building what's called an FOB, a forward operating building or facility, which those cameras will be able to tell Border Patrol where to go to collect or to where they're trying to cross. They've also put up vehicle barriers, and I don't mean the kind of vehicle barriers that we have over here in the sand dunes. I mean big, huge pillars, that maybe have a little 2 feet between them, all along the Arizona-Mexico border for the TO Nation, and that has made a huge impact as far as illegal immigration. But
Thank you. Time's up.
okay, thank you.
Dr. Connie Uribe.
This isn't just about the crime. This isn't just about the human trafficking. This illegal immigration is costing the state a fortune, and it has to stop. What we need to do is we need to empower our sheriffs. We need to empower we have an Arizona Guard, and we need to put it in place. We need to work with the National Guard, and we need to empower our Border Patrol agents because they know what to do. The federal government just is not doing its job, and I believe Arizona does have the power to protect the border. We have an open border. It's huge. It's enormous. It's the Arizona-Mexico border. And yes, I believe that we do need to continue working and trading with Mexico, but we also need to show Mexico that we are a power, and we need to gain their respect because we're losing it rapidly. And we need to empower the officials that we have, and we need to empower them while we are building a fence. It's just that simple because it is costing us billions of dollars a year in this state. There is a legal way to enter this country. It's that simple. We don't need new immigration laws.
Thank you. The next question is, with agriculture being so vital to the Yuma area, what do you perceive as being the biggest threat to the industry, and how do you plan to defend the industry against it? And this time we start with Mr. Richard Hopkins.
Well, agriculture is huge in Buckeye, which is where I live, in the northern part of the district. So I'm sure that the issues down here are very similar to the ones that I see. One of them is housing encroachment. The farms were there first. People come and buy houses real close, and they don't like the smell, they don't like the dust, they don't like the very few airplanes that have to crop dust anymore. But the farms were there first. They belong there. They're huge for all of us. Another is water. If you can't have water, then you can't grow the crops. We're fortunate there to have a mile-wide underground river that everybody drills down, and there's a lot of irrigation pumping done. Here, I believe it's the same thing. You know, the agriculture's here. This is huge. Yuma is where, come January, all of your lettuce, all of your vegetables, much of your fruit that you eat in the United States comes from. And that has to be protected because that not only benefits the area, that benefits everybody. So I would say that we have to take care of the agriculture grounds so that the population encroachment doesn't run them out of business, and also do everything we can to ensure a valid and long-time water supply. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lisa Otondo.
Will you repeat the question again for me, please?
Sure thing. With agriculture being so vital in the Yuma area, what do you perceive as being the biggest threat to the industry, and how do you plan to defend the industry against it?
Okay, there are several areas where you can plan on protecting agriculture. Some of them are federal. First of all is water. The water rights in Yuma are well protected on a federal level, but we need to ensure that we keep those all intact. We had some bills coming through before that really set Yuma on end my first session. So we need to protect water. Agriculture brings $3.4 billion to the state of Arizona. And what it does in District 4 is truly phenomenal, what it brings in taxes and the importance it has to the economy. The other thing we need to ensure is her funding. Infrastructure is really important. These vegetables don't just get out on their own. We have to make sure that the infrastructure is there. And actually, the infrastructure in Arizona is crumbling. We have not funded infrastructure for such a long time. We just passed a bill in the budget where we did allow some more, but still not nearly enough. So we need to ensure that our infrastructure is also intact. We also need to make sure that education is still in line and funded. JTED is coming up on the next ballot. Yuma County needs a JTED. Some of the classes are directed directly at agriculture and technology. We need to make sure that we can keep our kids here and well employed, and ag is a wonderful way to do it. And the last one is, of course, immigration. We have to make sure that there are working visas readily available so that we can have the hands that we need to assist our farmers and our agricultural producers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Lynn Pancrazi.
Just recently, I attended a meeting from the House Committee on Environment, and the federal government, the EPA, is trying to pass a rule called 111. And Rule 111 has to do with navigable waters and would really, really restrict our farmers in the way that they can move water. Our ditches and our canals would all be considered navigable waters, which they would have to get permits from the federal government to be able to move that water, which is absolutely crazy. The other is the restrictions on the Navajo generating station, the possibility of forcing that Navajo generating station, because it's coal burning, to be able to have to close down, even though they have put multi-million dollars worth of equipment on there to to eliminate the carbon, what they said, the carbon footprint. And with the Navajo generating station comes CAP water. CAP water is pumped into Maricopa County and into Tucson with the help of the Navajo generating station. Without it, those prices would go up. With that, the CAP is going to, which is a Central Arizona project, is going to start looking for water. And the first place they're going to look is Yuma. And so that will impact our agriculture and impact our water. So that's the first. The second issue that I have is the inability for us to get our labor back and forth across the border. We have got to get some way or another that the federal government, whether it's a pilot program or whatever it is, federal government has got to get us some sort of way to get our labor back and forth across the border. The H-2A program is not working. Most people that want to work in the
Time's up.
Sorry.
Dr. Connie Uribe.
Okay. I believe work vouchers are the way to go. We're very close to the border. I think it's a very simple thing to implement, and we must have them in order for our farmers to work. It's going to be mandatory, and I think that is the simplest thing to do. These water grab, water steal bills, we have to watch for them because they are always there. They're always lurking. They're always going to be lurking as long as we have the agricultural business that we have to deal with, because we don't just provide food around here. We feed the entire nation. That's just the way it is here in Yuma, and we have to look at it that way. We have a very important job to do here. We have to support our agriculture. When it comes to water, we have to look at it's going to run dry. The well is going to run dry. There's no question about that. We have to look to conservation. We have to look to augmentation eventually. But those are the issues. In the meantime, we have to protect what we have, and we have to look out for federal regulations, and we have to look out for California and other places that are going to try to grab our water. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Charlene Fernandez.
There's three things that I feel that we need to protect for our agricultural community, and it's water, water, and water. If we don't have the water, in a perfect world, we could have enough workers here. We could have a perfect system where the environment, the farmers can do whatever they need to do, but if we don't have the water, they can't grow the crops. If they can't grow the crops, we're not feeding this country or the world, and our economy will just not be where it is today. It's very important that we need to understand that, yeah, there are those ominous bills that we will always have to look after, and our good legislators will do that. We'll always be watching for those bills. But the bottom line is there's a drought. There's study after study being done about the water in Arizona, and there is a drought. There is a drought, just like there is in California. So we need to look at those issues on how we can conserve water. We talk about education. We need to educate people, because this isn't just about people that own farms or grow crops. This is about all of us learning about conserving water and the things we need to do. This is a people issue. This is an issue for LD4, that we have to learn how to conserve water and make sure it's there for generations to come, and I believe that it will be, but we need to start now. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, do you consider yourself to be a partisan candidate, and is there anything that would prevent you from working with the opposing party? And this one we start with Ms. Lisa Otondo.
Thanks. I'm really glad to start with that one, because actually last session I had the pleasure of working across the aisles with some of the most conservative Republicans on working on a best management practices bill that had to do with forestry in our state lands. Now, why, may you ask, was Lisa Otondo working on forestry bills and best land management practices for the state, for state lands? And the answer is water, because if we can actually work on those state lands, get some of them thinned out with actually environmental and both Arizona Cattlemen's Association and the 25 other interests and stakeholders that I had at the table, we could actually clean up our state forests, increase the watershed, save lives and save money. And it was really an opportunity to work across the aisle. I work across the aisle all the time, and I have in the last 2 years. And it's been a pleasure. And I will continue to do so. I have strong support in the House and in the Senate from my Republican colleagues. And I am a Democrat, and I'm proud to be a Democrat. And what many people don't understand is at the legislature, we work together a lot, and we get a lot of things passed where we do have really good cooperation. And on many other issues, we differ and we vote accordingly. But we do listen to each other, and perhaps some opinions are a little harder to listen to than others. And we vote according to our I vote according to my constituents' perspective, what I learned from all parties involved, including lobbyists and analysts, staffers, and other members of the legislature. So it's truly a learning process, and I enjoy working across the aisle to meet common goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lynn Pancrazi.
I think if you'll look at my record, you will see that I work with my constituents, all of my constituents, and I have since the very beginning. The people who come to the legislature come with a passion that they are going to make Arizona a better place. Every single legislator there wants to make Arizona a better place to live. That's what they go for. Now, we don't always agree on how we're going to get that done, but we all agree that we want what's best for the state of Arizona. If you look at the legislation that's passed, 80% of it is passed unanimously. In those issues, we all talk to each other and work with each other in committee, in small groups, on a one-to-one. The legislature really does get along with each other and work with each other more than you know. So I represent all of my constituents, and I think I have ever since I started 8 years ago.
Thank you. Dr. Connie Uribe.
Thank you. I didn't start out as a Republican. I started out as a Democrat. I was born and raised a Democrat, but like Ronald Reagan, I didn't leave the party left me. The Republican Party has and started out as the party of human rights, and that's the way I look at it. I was asked by a gentleman in Tucson not too long ago if I could cross over the aisle and work with the colleagues at the Senate, if I could compromise, as it were, if I could do that. And this is the way I answered him. I said, you know, I will reach across the aisle. I will work with anyone. I'll cross the aisle and I will listen. I will cross the aisle and I will discuss. I will cross the aisle and I will educate until the cows come home. But please do not ask me to cross the aisle and compromise your rights, because compromise is a lose-lose situation. That means both of us have to make a sacrifice, and I will never sacrifice one of your God-given rights. And that's a promise I make to you.
Thank you. Ms. Charlene Fernandez.
The question was, am I a partisan candidate? Yes, I am a partisan candidate. I'm a Democrat running for the Arizona State Legislature. And I'm proud to be a Democrat. But I work hard for the constituents of this county. I always have. When you work for over 14 years for a congressional office, you work with anyone. They don't have to be a registered Democrat or a registered Republican. They don't even have to be registered to vote to walk into a congressional office. When I served under Congressman Pastor, our local office here in Yuma County, the first ever congressional office in Yuma County, was named one of the most effective congressional offices in the country. And I was proud of that. I was proud of that then, and I'm proud of that today. And that's the kind of service you will receive from me, the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Hopkins.
Well, I'm a Republican, and I learned that from my father, who's also a Republican, retired Air Force He was friends with Barry Goldwater, and he taught me a lot of great things about, how to live in this country. Some of the reasons I'm not a Democrat: Barack Obama, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Ted Kennedy. As I stated in my opening, Lisa and Lynn, we get along. In fact, Lisa sponsored a bill and got 18 co-sponsors from both houses and both parties for me last year. Unfortunately, the League of Cities and Towns decided to tell the Education Committee chairman not to hear it, so it just sat there. It was to prohibit drug paraphernalia from being sold within 300 feet of a school. So right now, she tried to help stop it, but right now, I can open a head shop across the street from any one of your Yuma elementary schools, and there's nothing you can do about it. On the school board, we're nonpartisan. There's a couple of real Democrats on there, and we have our discussions, we take our vote, we do what we think is best. And one of them actually circulated petitions for me, and until I got the check from the farmer, she wrote me the largest campaign contribution that I had. So I can work with them all, do it every month at the board meetings that we have, and I'm sure I can do it with everybody in the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, each of the candidates will have an opportunity to ask a question of their opponent. Before the debate, the representative candidates drew the name of another candidate. The first question is from Ms. Lynn Pancrazi for Dr. Connie Uribe.
Hi, Connie. Just recently, the courts ruled on the inflation factor for public schools. They said $317 million for the $2 million for the 2015, and another $1.2 billion is still being debated right now. How do you feel about returning the $317 million back to the public schools? And do you agree with reinstating the inflation factor into the budget?
Okay, that's two separate questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. Just with my memory, I'm going to do them one at a time here. First of all, that $317 million, we can't do a lot about that. That's there. The legislature is going to have to deal with that $317 million. They're going to have to budget it, even though I believe it's already been appealed. But this is what you've been talking about before, is putting more money back into the education system. The legislature is going to have to deal with that $317 million fiscal crisis that they have now to deal with the education thing. There's, you said $1.2 billion. I've seen numbers going as high as $1.6 billion that is going to hit the legislature over the next 5 years. There's a question of $1.3 billion in back pay that the judges may hit us with, and that is going to be a difficult thing that the legislature is going to have to deal with, but it's just there. Now, this is funding. Now, there's a couple of issues here. Number one, this is funding that the legislature is just going to have to budget. It's going to have to deal with it. My concern is this, and that is that 35 cents on education dollar throughout this country, as a rule, throughout the nation, goes to administration. In Arizona, almost 50 cents on the dollar goes. So it's not just so much a matter of putting money into education, but how are we funding our education? And I'm as concerned about that as I am about this fiscal crisis that the legislature has to deal with. So there are two issues. Number one, there's the issue of all this money that the legislature has to come up with. Where are they going to come up with the money? How are they going to come up with the money? Where's it going to come from? Who are they going to have to steal it from?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question is from Dr. Connie Uribe for Ms. Lynn Pancrazi.
Okay, Senator, here's my question. We were talking a little bit a while ago about the Republican Party being the party of human rights. On reviewing your record, I noted that you have been in the House and the Senate for a very long time. You have a very long record. And at one time, you voted to take the Bible out of the classroom as a reference text. You voted against objecting to the Affordable Care Act. You voted against people with concealed carry permits taking firearms in buildings. You voted against the border fence.
Could you ask the question, please?
Well, I'm getting to it. But the point is that you have voted against a lot of what I consider to be people's rights. Is there any particular constitutional right that you would uphold under any circumstances at all?
I think I uphold all of a person's rights with our laws being in place because we are a country of laws. We are a civilization of laws, and we have to have laws in order for all of us to be able to function and for society to be able to function. So if you're talking about guns inside of public buildings, if we funded our cities and towns well enough to be able to afford to be able to have those little gun lockers for every single function that we have, I wouldn't have a problem with those guns being in there. If we opened our schools are for everyone, including and always have been Christians, as well as everyone else. So do I believe in the pledge? Yes. Do I believe in a moment of silence? Yes. Did I do that while I taught? Oh, yes, every day. So, do I believe in everybody's freedoms? Yes. I was at the Vietnam War Memorial today in Goodyear, and I went to the opening and the closing ceremonies of that, and was reminded that our freedom is not exactly free. That we have many, many veterans and many, many people who have given their all for us to be able to live in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Ms. Charlene Fernandez for Ms. Lisa Otondo.
Be nice, Charlene.
I always am. I'm going to give you a moment so you can shine. Can you just tell us what some of your accomplishments were, your first 2 years in the state legislature?
Well, I'm really happy to say that on the Education Committee, worked hard and fought with alongside of Dr. Eric Meyer, who was the ranking member. I've run several bills. We passed the Medicaid bill, which I support. I believe in access to health care. We passed also just this last session, creating the new Department of Child Safety. That was bipartisan. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the bill that I pushed to protect our state lands and get best land management practices. That is both public and private, would create 400 jobs and bring money back into our state while saving our state lands. I'm proud of the appointments that have been made over the both 2 interim committees and goodness, there's a lot of things. Okay, so, it's just been an honor. I'm very pleased, too, to be able to take a lot of the school children out, reach out to my constituents, and probably the best thing that I've done has been to help my constituents with their business licenses, with bureaucratic problems that they've had, also with helping community gardens, getting grant writing available to some of my constituents in Ajo. And there's more than just the legislature. There's constituent outreach programs, educational programs, and really, really good work that can be done, not only in my role at the House, but within the community. So I'm very proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Mr. Richard Hopkins for Ms. Charlene Fernandez.
According to the Auditor General of the state of Arizona, between 2009 and 2013, the student population of the Yuma Union High School District dropped just under 5%. Yet in that same time frame, expenditures on administration rose 16.7%. How can that be a good use of district funds?
Well, they did drop, and our classroom sizes dropped to something normal, like 28 students instead of 38 students in a classroom. So the cost did rise. I know during that period, there was an issue with our E-rate system that, and as you're well aware of E-rate, I'm sure as a school board member, and other issues that had sunset. It all happened at the same time. It happened during 1070 that we lost a lot of these students, and that the reimbursement from the state of Arizona per student dropped for our schools, as they did for yours, I'm sure. So I think you know that answer a little bit better than I do, I think. But that's what happened at Yuma Union High School District. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. And the final candidate question will be asked by Ms. Lisa Otondo for Mr. Richard Hopkins.
Well, I took an angle perhaps not as direct, but my question is for Richard. And my point is that the learning curve at the legislature is very steep the first 2 years. A lot of bills, lots of subjects, and there's just a lot coming your way. Please tell me what it is in your experience that has prepared you for the legislature, and please give me some examples. Thank you.
Well, talk about a very steep learning curve. 280 hours in the Phoenix Police Academy where you have to learn all the laws, or Friday morning you run up that huge hill behind the pistol range for not knowing when the instructors ask you. Had to learn a lot in a very quick time frame. On the school board, as Charlene can attest, there are many nights that you have dozens of things on your agenda. Many times there are, especially after the legislature ends and the new laws go into effect, you might have 20 or 30 new policies that are 30, 40, 50 pages that you have to adopt to change the law, and you have to learn through all of that. Those two things are the quick learn, because you get your packet 3 days or 4 days before the meeting, and then you have to, cram like you're taking a test for all of that. And then, just going out, visiting with people over the last 9 months now, in the community, hearing what they have to say really opened my eyes and really taught me a lot about what's going on and what's needed. So that's basically it.
Thank you. We will now begin the candidates' closing statements. The first closing statement will be given by Ms. Lisa Otondo.
Thank you. And thank you to all oh my goodness, is that me? And thank you to all the candidates for your answers and sharing not only your experience, but your knowledge and your perspective. It has been truly an honor to serve as state representative for Legislative District 4. I believe I have the education, I have the experience, and I have the fight to do this job well. I have the time. I work this job year-round. And as a matter of fact, I'll be running up to Phoenix again tomorrow for another constituent issue. I love this job. I love being able to give back to this community. There was a school named after my mother here in this town, and when my father lost his arm in a tractor accident out in Buckeye, and we were in a very dire situation. It was the farmers of this area that came together and helped my family out. I owe it to this community to do my best and to represent it well, and I will do that. By the way, my father was a Republican and my mother was a Democrat, and I was raised in a bipartisan household, so I'm quite used to watching negotiations go on. So it's an honor to serve. I would love to continue to serve. I ask you for your vote and your support, and my door is always open, and it always has been, and I give out my cell phone. So it's an honor to serve the groups that affect this district. That is not only both of the Indian nations that are in this district, but all of the constituents. I'm a strong supporter of ag. I will always be a strong supporter of ag. And, you know, I have deep concerns still about the new Department of Child Safety. I want to ensure that we implement a system that has preventative measures that also ensure that we're not going to get as many kids in the system. That's
Thank
enough
you.
time. Thank you. Bye.
Mr. Richard Hopkins.
I would also like to share thanks for everybody out there and for everybody sitting up here. Every time we come to something like this, you always learn a little bit more about everything, and so I appreciate that. As I started out, I said the legislature is broken. Unfortunately, for everybody that lives in Legislative District 4, unless there is a Republican representing you at the state legislature, you do not have a seat at the budget table. Because even though it's not supposed to be that way, the budget is done in the Republican caucus. And all 218,000 of us that live here, despite the accolades I gave to the two ladies on the end, we had no representation in any of the budgets. That's one important thing. Two is the school funding. I can hold their feet to the fire in those caucus meetings and try to get proper funding for our schools. Charter schools get a bigger piece of the pie than our public schools do, and they spend much more on administration than a public school does. Just look at the legislators' job description or job titles and see how many of them are charter school executives, and you'll see why. I also ask for your vote, but since the ballot's going to say vote for no more than 2, I ask that you vote for me twice by only voting for me once. And that way helps me out. But when Lisa goes to vote and she votes for me, you can vote for yourself too. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Charlene Fernandez.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight and for being so nice. It's nice to look out there and see, I think, friendly faces. I feel like I've been preparing for this all my life, although I didn't know this was the exact moment. I really never, ever thought in my wildest dreams that I would be in a position to run for the state legislature. My father was a World War II veteran, so I learned early on about the importance of giving back. Even as a youngster, I remembered the days when they would go and made sure that they cast their ballot. It was very important to them to vote. And my dad would even register people to vote and take people to the polls. So that was my paradigm. That's what I saw people do, and those were the things I did. As soon as I got into school, I ran for student government, and it was always very important to me and a lot of fun, and the rest of the family thought I was a little crazy. But I continued to do that, and that's what my life has been like, being a part of this community, working with the Democratic Party, and like I said, preparing for this moment. I'm very anxious for November 5th to find out that I won and that I become your legislator. I hope you help me get there, that you vote for me, that you tell other people to vote for me. Because when you vote for me, you're going to vote for someone that's accessible. My telephone number, my cell phone number has been on every one of my cards that I give to people. I answer my phone, I respond to people, and you can also talk to people that I've helped all through my years as a congressional worker and in my time working for the state of Arizona. I know how to do constituency services. I think the learning curve is really high when you get to the state legislature, but I will be a full-time legislator. I've already raised my kids and I've worked, done my time there, so I'm ready to work for you. And thank you again for being here and for being so nice.
Thank you. Dr. Connie Uribe.
Thank you. I spent 32 years in practice here in Yuma. I loved every minute of it, but I spent several hours a week working with our legislators, working with our congressmen, because I was also dealing with Medicaid. I know the access system intimately, believe me. I know where the problems are. Example, a 60-year-old woman who had to undergo preoperative chemotherapy because her breast cancer was so large. She was an access patient. It came time to do her surgery. She had diabetes, she had hypertension, other medical problems, and Access came along and said, you can only do her mastectomy if you do her as an outpatient. I said no. They said, well, fine, we're not going to pay for it. I went ahead, I did what was right for the patient. I put her in the hospital, knowing that they weren't going to pay for it. I went ahead, I reported that medical director who made that decision, I reported him to the Arizona Medical Board. They took action against him. I defied Access. That is what I intend to do for you. I intend to stand up for your rights. The medical board took action against him, but it was your tax dollars at work, because when I went for his hearing, he had a lawyer. That's your tax dollars at work. This expansion of Medicaid only expands denials, it expands delays, and expands demands on physicians. That's what it does, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to get up there and I want to help you. There is so much going on right now. This has to be stopped. And I am your candidate. Arizona was number 4 in this nation for job loss, and we're seeing it happen all around us right here in Yuma. Please, this next month, it's Dr. Connie Uribe for Arizona State Senate. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Ms. Lynn Pancrazi.
First of all, let me thank Clean Elections for coming down to Yuma and making the trip from Phoenix and offering this forum for all of us. It's been an honor to serve as your state representative and now as your state senator for the last 8 years. I thank you very much for your continued support. There are many people here who I see and meet on a regular basis. It's nice to see you out there. This coming November 4th is Election Day. It is one of the freedoms that our veterans fight for. Our military fights for our freedoms, and one of those is the freedom to be able to vote. I hope that every single one of you takes advantage of that, those that are here in this audience and those that are going to watch this on the TV, or the computer, excuse me. Take the opportunity to vote. It's one of the freedoms that we fight for and we continue to fight for. When I saw all those names on that memorial, I thought about the freedom to vote. And that's one of the things that I think people take for granted and don't do enough of. So if you'll have your families and your friends and remind them all to get out and vote. I would like to thank you again and would like to continue to serve the people of District 4 and the state of Arizona. And I ask for your support on November 4th and for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And we thank you all very much for participating in our forum. And we thank all of you for taking the time to come out and inform yourselves before voting. We encourage you to find out more about the clean elections and the candidates running for office by visiting www.azcleanelections.gov. A link to this video of this debate as well as other clean elections debates will be posted on the site within 72 hours of a scheduled debate. We ask that you also fill out the debate evaluation form you received as you entered and return it to one of our volunteers. Your feedback is important to the commission. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.